people are the most important thing. We started with PhD. Oh, well, people who are technically most competent, and we stayed there for a while. And then we're like, wait. And we started looking at the master's folks, and we're like, oh, wait, there's more. There's the undergraduates. And now in my own personal development, I'm interested in the people who aren't going to college. I'm interested in the people who are developing skills that are going to be practical and useful so they can support their family, do interesting things, but not be the academic acolytes, if you may. So this is where my progression has come. And it's not like one instance, it's a whole series of instances that brought me here. Learning is not a game. Learning is about a human development. It's about learning and trying and failing and being motivated to try to look into areas that you never looked at before. And that only, as far as I know, comes through meaningful human relationships. Because you don't have to build the perfect system. If you build something that you take a step and you maximize your learning for the next step, that's cool. You don't have to know where this journey's ending. So the question is optimize your choices so that you make the policy recommendations that help you best see the next ridge. So you climb to the nearest hill and you're like, oh, now I know where to go next. And so that was the motivation for writing this paper, was to try to like take the tension out of it. Yes, they're consequential. Yes, they're super important. But if we start thinking about this in a principled way, we can actually make real decisions now that are shape how we take the next steps. And so AI literacy was clearly part of this and was a big part of it. So just the three elements that you already stated them, but I think just for interest, I'll briefly rehash them slightly on what we were hoping to achieve. So this knowing the terrain of AI risk and harm, to me, this is key for literacy. When I tell you that this oompity squat is going to do something crazy, you're like, what is an oompity squat and what's this crazy thing? I have no idea what you're talking about. When you turn that vocabulary into, okay, we have an AI system that helps detect images or provides a conversational partner. And when people talk about their personal feelings over a prolonged period of time, there have been a few people who have been led to commit suicide. That is practical. We know what happened, and we can start looking at the logs and say, okay, how can we fix this? When you're in a Tesla, I don't know if this is still the problem, and behind a white semi in Arizona on a really sunny day, that semi truck disappears from your optical sensors in your Tesla. Knowing that specifically can help you now know what to do. So I don't want to run on forever here, but the point is having tangible, clear evidence of problems really changes this discussion. Then this might happen. We should potentially stop it. So that's the first one. And I wanted to get that in mind. The second one is humans. So this includes judges with Chevron doctrine. And for example, pushing things more toward judges, executive, US government, or executives of corporations, congressional folks, all the way to the individual, like people who have to make decisions about where to send their kids to school or what to encourage them about what career to consider exploring. We need comprehensive and clear places that we can go to and say, okay, how do we think about this? What is the issues that break down? What are the issues that are good? So like a pilot, when I go to learn how to fly a plane, I've got someone sitting next to me who says, okay, this is how you do this. This is how you land. Oh, look, the landing gear didn't go out. What do we do? And these kind of instructions, and we need that kind of environment to learn how to use these systems. Anyway, thank you. Hopefully that made sense. And I think you have one more part of the question, but I'll pause because I don't want to talk too long.
We miss so often the genius of young people because we don't understand how they learn. And school is not designed often for a spectrum of learners. And you have to conform to it or it doesn't work for you, but you are made to feel that you are stupid, that you are the problem. And then that by doing so, we deny so much creativity, innovation, and just being able to help young people feel value so that they can be contributing members of their communities. And so as you were speaking, what I was thinking about are all of these young people in their 20s. I had an experience yesterday with a young man who was probably 24 who have been so disengaged from the learning process. And if they could see that the way in which they were learning and AI could help them, instead of feeling like if they went to it that somehow they were doing something bad, which I think we are giving this lesson to them about that. we're getting the message to them about that. If we could have young people understand how they learn, affirm that, and use this technology as a way to affirm how they learn and help them, not only would we really just overall benefit from young people and from young adults being more educated, but their engagement in education would be different. And that's transformative. You said that and I went, wow, all these pieces of the puzzle sort of fit into place for me. So thank you.
So I think working in the multi-party international or context particularly is it's really important to be realistic about what you can accomplish and the speed at which you can accomplish it. This makes it hard because AI is changing every 15 minutes, which means that a body that has to agree on how to ask questions and how to and frame very very structured engagements is really hard. So I think just first of all recognizing that multi-party environments can only do certain types of things and recognizing what it is that is important for them to do is extremely important. They have their strengths and weaknesses. I think focusing on areas where, AI literacy standards, definitions, what are the criteria, what research should be elevated. There's some really good work that is starting to actually test what literacy tests actually work. How do they measure? What are they measuring? Are they effective? So that elevation of the important work, the instant reporting, making sure you're sharing examples of what's working and what isn't working, prioritizing, like, working with disadvantaged human populations, children, other things like that can prioritize attention. Like, let's get this right for people under 18 or 16 or whatever the age that is going to be used is really important. I think those are the basic principles. I think in terms of AI literacy, working on defining specific use cases in addition, like this particular instance. So we're doing this with the Department of Defense, where we're basically saying, DoD has a lot of difficulty understanding how to deal with software. They know what to do with tanks, they know what to do with guns, they need to know what need to do with doctrine and training programs. But how do you deal with this new thing of software that changes and updates every little bit? So giving examples of this is how it worked, this is how long it took to be integrated and be useful, this is how much training it took to develop, this is the training that worked well, this is the training that worked poorly. These are the people you needed involved in that training. For example, operationally relevant people. I'm using a military example here, but people who have actually been in the field are way better at training people who are in the field than people who have never been in the field. I mean, that's kind of an obvious statement, but it's a really important who you're bringing along and the time spans of how long it takes to get things forward. So there's a misconception, I think, that AI is moving fast, therefore it's going to transform everything at the same rate. Unfortunately, you need infrastructure to be able to develop this. You need to have enough people who are trained, who are capable of doing it. And this takes time. So even though the technology is moving rapidly, the actual societal impact is moving slower because of all the other things that are necessary to be a general purpose technology like electricity. Just because we know how to get electrons from point A to point B doesn't mean that we can power the entire United States. It took a while for that technology to go forward. And I think that's how we just need to recognize that type of investment. It's not as exciting. It's not as glitzy. It's not a shiny object. It's just the necessary steps to be able to deploy this kind of learning and infrastructure capability. Yeah, I think one of the drivers that's going to dominate a lot of thinking is the competition with China. This can turn you into like, oh no, we've got to do it because the Chinese are doing it, or we need to do it better, we need to do it faster. We can't let them get ahead of us. There's also other drivers in terms of the total investment and the approaches that are being taken in terms of like brain-computer interface that China's approaching as opposed to our large language model emphasis. There's slightly different approaches. So I think when I look at the next administration, I really want them to think about how they're going to work with and compete and partner with China in a way that is not oversimplifying. Because I've met some individuals that want China to go back. Let's just roll the clock back to 1994. It was so much easier to deal with China back then. Why can't they get back in that box? That's unrealistic because time This doesn't work that flow that direction. Um, Secondly, you don't want to just gear up for war because there's nuclear arsenals. There's a whole bunch of things that we just don't want to happen. And how do we develop that relationship to be able to partner even with your adversary in a way that goes forward? I view it very much as like jujitsu. You've got really talented, it's not flashy, you're not doing kung fu kicks. You're basically grappling slowly, trying to get advantage and move that way. But we have to have a goal. What are we trying to achieve? What is a good state? And I'm sorry to get super geopolitical. This is a little bit farther away from AI literacy, but I think we have to have that goal. And that's what I'm really hoping in the next administration, that that kind of thinking evolves in a productive way. In terms of AI literacy, I do think there's some really interesting bills that have been proposed in the last Congress rounds. Mark Kelly and Senator Rounds did one on AI literacy, particularly focused out of consumers literacy, out of the Department of Commerce, which I thought was a really cool hack that will be more effective in the next administration, which is not as fond of the Department of Education. So putting it out of Commerce is a really reasonable place. Lisa Blunt Rochester and Marcus from New York, I just lost his last name, also did a Learn Act, AI Act. And these things are like forming, and I think this is really helpful. I think with young adults and children, there's some really interesting of like figuring out how digital literacy is continuing. We still have like a third of the population in the US don't have digital literacy. That's the problem because you can't get to AI literacy without digital literacy. There's data literacy, there's privacy issues. All of these things require infrastructure and training. So I'm really hoping they continue to do that. I think from this next administration, I hope they view AI as a way to boost underdeveloped areas of the country. So human plus machine teaming might make talent more marketable and able to sustain themselves in areas that have been decimated by manufacturers leaving. I'm really excited about opportunities there. And so once again, AI literacy, education, partnering, human machine teaming becomes really important. Designing systems so that AI and humans, we don't fall into the trap of automation bias where we let the machine take over tasks in ways that we shouldn't. So I think there's a lot of really exciting things that the new administration can take on that are appropriate, well defined, and also achieve goals of economic development and self-sufficiency, so making our supply chain more resilient and being based in the US, increasing AI literacy and digital literacy, and figuring out how to deal with China. I'm really excited about AI as an educational partner with me, a human machine team that can learn together, that can remember all the books I've read.
My gosh, that would be
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
Oh my
and
gosh.
remembers all the lectures I've gone to. My poor brain is overtaxed with my human network. It's bigger than I can handle. And being able to have that kind of information there. So it becomes now a environment where I can ask questions, help me remember what I learned that I'm quickly forgetting, and within my local context. And I think that experimenting with these tools, these agents that use not just the large language model, but these other companion technologies, I'm really excited about this because I want to learn more. I want to remember more. I want to be able to explore things more quickly. And I think this whole adult education space, because I do think that the kids need a slightly different approach. Because once again, human interaction is really important. So I'm super excited about this. I think in a year we're going to see more of these capabilities. I'm on the edge of my seat watching for them, and so quite optimistic.